Okay, at this time, I'm calling our board meeting on August 20th, 2019 into session. And I've asked Steve, and I'm terrible with last names. Brown, thank you, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Steve works on our safety and security team, and thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
That we remain aware of public thoughts, ideas, and concerns, and informs our decision-making process. There is a 1-hour time slot at the beginning of the meeting. Testimony in excess of 1 hour will be heard at the second opportunity for testimony at the end of the meeting or can be submitted in writing. We have a table front and center with microphones available for testimony when I call your name. You will have 3 minutes to testify, and you may begin speaking when the timer appears on the screen to your left and begins the countdown. When you have 30 seconds left, the number will turn yellow. When the time reaches 0, please finish your sentence. In order to provide equity to all who would like to speak, the board asks that there is no clapping after testimony, as it may intimidate others wishing to testify with an opposing view. Additionally, it's not our practice that board members answer questions or engage discussion with members of the public. This is your time to speak and our time to listen. The board will consider all information shared by the public, and when deemed necessary, issues raised in testimony will be referred to administration for follow-up. And at this time, I would look for approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Is there any dissension with the agenda as presented? Hearing no dissension, we'll move forward with the agenda as presented. Thank you. So at this time, well, we all voted anyway, but since there's no dissension, yeah, okay. At this time, we do have one person signed up, but sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Committee reports first. I know we just had finance.
Yes, we just had our finance committee meeting. We covered 5 topics. We talked about Aquarian, an update for our annual financial audit, or CAFR. We did a preliminary bond and CIP discussion, the end of year fund balance, and looking forward, beginning conversations on the FY21 budget conversation. Our next meeting is on September, I'm pretty sure that's the 17th, and agenda TBD.
And our governance committee?
Yes, governance met on Thursday, August 15th, reviewed some of the administrative regulations put forth by the administration. We have board policy section 4000 to review right now, and we did not review the whole thing, but we did look at a specific change. Specifically, it would no longer require a physical exam every 3 years for school employees. That's a result of a change in state law that doesn't require that any longer. That'll come to you on our September 3rd meeting for a vote about changing our policy. Also looked at a proposed change for board policy 6115 on ceremonies and observances. That will come to you on the 3rd as well. And considered a proposed change to board policy 5131 regarding expulsions, and we did not support a change in that one. We do have a fairly crowded agenda of new business, so we'll probably try to meet twice in September, but we do not have a date as yet.
Thank you. Communications committee.
Yes. The Communications Committee met on August 15th. We welcomed our new Communications Director, Mr. Alan Brown. We're glad to have him here. And we reviewed our purpose based on our board policy, the purpose of the committee. We also discussed our needs in terms of communication for the school year, especially looking at the items that are available to everyone online, as well as those items that are specific to principals, the board, etc. We also looked at the hot topics, we discussed the hot topics section of the website and want to make sure that not just board members, but all of our stakeholders really look at those hot topics to get recent updates. And our next meeting will be following Andy's next meeting whenever he sets it. Thank you.
Are there any other committee or reports that someone needs to report on? Okay. At this time then, we'll call up our first speaker, which is Dave Carter, and I think he's already up here. And Dave, when the clock starts over here,
Just wait a second, I'll
okay,
get since you have the whole hour, you probably don't want to hear from me for an hour, I'll like. be
3
happy to
minutes.
Chat with you for an hour, but let me just get my stuff together here, and then we'll charge ahead. I can say what I need to say tonight in 3 minutes.
Bless you.
No, Gesundheit. And where are the lights again that will tell me the 30? All right,
Yes.
All right, we're going. Good evening, everyone. I'm a taxpayer, property taxpayer, and interested in our public school education, and it's such a wonderful opportunity for all of us to be involved with the secular school system. I did send an article to Ms. Bishop. I don't know if it made its way to you. It was from the Wall Street Journal, a recent week and a half ago, weekend edition, August 10th and 11th. It was called "To Really Learn, Our Children Need to Play." It says when they are moving, their brains work better. They concentrate more in class. It's very important in social ways too. The American Academy of Pediatrics said the importance of playful learning for children cannot be overemphasized. I also note that Texas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and New York have tens of thousands of children with more recess, so they're able to work around whatever other issues there are. And not surprisingly, the educators are reporting sharp improvements in academic performance, concentration, and behavior. So if there's anybody in the room that's interested in that, I'd be happy to give them this particular copy of this. I also mailed it again to Ms. Bishop. Second item, I'll move through this quickly. The component about the secular issues, a lot of us didn't know that the under God was just added to the pledge in 1954 during the Cold War. Our parents and grandparents didn't have any reference to God. It's not a pledge of allegiance to God, of course. It's a pledge of allegiance to the flag and the republic for which it stands. It's a patriotic pledge. And I think it's important, again, that we remind people of that. Most people don't even know about it because most of us were born after 1954. I think the last basic thing I want to mention related to the shirt I'm wearing is that, fair oil revenue for Alaskans is that we've been dealing with a very difficult situation with an administration that doesn't believe that any new revenue can come from the oil industry. And that's just a choice that people either make or don't make. And more Alaskans are just saying no to that idea. And so I would urge you to write down March 19th of 2019, a comment from Senator Joe Passman, and May 27th, 19, another comment by Ray Metcalf, both former Alaska legislators. Review those on ADN, and they provide you with all the information you need to start to get the information you need. It's costing us $1 billion a year, folks. $1 billion with a B. We can use that money for bigger dividends too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to testify this evening? Yes.
Marnie Hartill here in Tom's stead. He's out of town today. Just want to speak on behalf of Anchorage Education Association for a great beginning of the year. Thank you so much for excellent professional development. At Greening, our principal gave an excellent presentation, and we discussed our model for the collaboration and shifting our mindset from team time to collaboration, and it sounds like it's going to be an excellent year. It was a great first day of school with the kids, and I can say this is an amazing start to the year. We had open arms and amazing hospitality. Our maintenance, our electricians, our everyone, from our BPOs all the way to our administration and our support staff, just phenomenal. And I had some colleagues who are new to the building, and they were just stunned at how welcome they felt to the school. So I want to thank everyone here in leadership for making that possible.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to testify? Okay. We're going to move on to our superintendent's update. What have you got for us, Dr. Bishop?
All right, so I'd like to second that last testimony. It was a great first day today, and just some quite a lot of excitement and high energy of our employees and our students. I'm going to share today, obviously the first day of school, just some photos, whatnot, summer school opportunities that occurred. You heard about the ELL, but we have had lots of other opportunities. And then I'm going to move into the bond debt veto update, as well as just to share the presentation verbally with you that we're working with Commonwealth North in regard to bond debt. So English language learners summer programs was shared a little bit today. We did have at Chugach, you saw the secondary, but at Chugach we had 6 weeks with around 300 students as well at the school right next to Central, and it was really to build oral language development through social emotional learning, both the academic side as well as the social emotional. We, as mentioned by Natalie, we had the UAA Bridge program, which 50 students were actually on campus in addition to those students at Central. 21st Century Learning is a federal grant, and part of that grant is after-school activities, but in addition, a summer enrichment program, and it operated the month of June from Mondays through Thursdays from 9 to 4. Approximately 200 students attended, as well as the Migrant Ed summer school program. Generally, students were entering first grade through seventh grades and participated in STEM-based hands-on learning. UAA Engineering Department, the National Park Service, NASA, Alaska Public Media, Kids Don't Float, Eagle River Nature Center were just some of the partners that assisted us with the activities. In addition, our students in high school who chose to attend summer school by invite or just on their own, we have numbers across the district. So over 1,400 students earned credit this summer, and of those, 37 actually moved towards graduation, and those were the numbers. We did get that the East numbers were inaccurate. They haven't been updated since the last grading period, so we'll get that number updated, but students did quite well, and we really had a broad range of students that attended. Other opportunities for migrant education, child in transition, and back on track. They collaborated to provide a 4-week summer program from May to June as well, and it provided direct instruction classes from 8 a.m. to 5 throughout the month. So it was quite a long day, and they earned credit in different sessions. 182 students participated in this one, and there were 374 courses for which they took part in. 26 students graduated from this program as well. Write Alaska, Science Alaska, and Math Alaska 2019 provided a 10-day experimental learning program for 40 migrant ed students as well, right here at the ASD Education Center. So if you were in during the summer and saw students, it was a great place to be. It certainly was fun for us to have the students right here. They worked in the morning, and then they went on field trips in the afternoon, so they got out into our community. 40 students there earned language arts, science, and math credit, and 2 kids finished their high school program. The Migrant Education Program also offered a 3-week middle school math camp at Muldoon Elementary, and that was as well in June. They received intervention and enrichment classes and support through ALEX, which is a computer-based program that really hones in on the skills needed, as well as small group lessons, hands-on activities. That also was Mondays from 9 to 4. 22 students participated in this program over at Muldoon. And the MathCap students, they joined with the 21st Century Migrant Nature Camp for field trips and family engagement. So while they may have been in different programs, the family-oriented programs or activities that we had, our staff collaborated to bring families together. Migrant Education Learning Lab was a small group tutoring program for eligible students who needed extra support in language arts, and it took place at 3 sites across the district, at North Star, Muldoon, and Central. And the classes were just on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 till noon, and a total of 25 students attended the Learning Lab classroom in June and July. In addition, Migrant Ed sent out Summer Bridge backpack kits, which contain workbooks for grade appropriate flashcards and fiction and nonfiction books to every preschool student entering kindergarten through 7th grade who were entering 8th grade, who were enrolled in Migrant Ed. So approximately 2,000 summer workbooks and activities were delivered to students in their homes to do at home as well and to support learning. Title VI, Indian Education, had quite a few summer programs as well. The Enrichment summer program was the theme of maritime. It was a three two-week sessions. About 350 students participated, and they participated in Kids Don't Float program and went on field trips to the William Jack Hernandez Sports Fish Hatchery. And we had special guests, and they also learned how to process a seal. Project Khalil, which is 1st through 5th grade, had 75 students in attendance, bless you, on average for the 2-week program at Russian Jack. And passages for students in 6th through 8th grade averaged 40 students daily. And they went on several field trips as well and enabled them to have a rich cultural experience. ANSEP had 108 students in middle school participate, and overall we had 20 students in preschool, 141 in elementary, 37 in middle school, and over 300 high school students in Indian Education summer school this summer. And so great success, lots of work continuing over the summer, lots of employees still working, so ASD never shuts down, to say the least. But many of you had already commented on a nice welcome back to Anchorage video that Robert Jabari and the team from Communications put together with just different folks from around the district welcoming people back. We really wanted to, after a long hot summer, lots of emergencies happening, we had a long legislative session. We are so excited to be back. We wanted it to be a joyful experience and let folks know we are ready for you and we're happy to be here. And certainly some of the testimony tonight was exactly that, just a good feeling of good energy coming back. And hope you get to see this, but it was delivered to 73,000 emails. We had over, the app views alone were 1,200 outside of those emails, and we had 3,700 views on YouTube, and Facebook had 3,500 views as well as many, many shares. So hopefully that's getting out there and helped set the stage for such a success. The first day of school went well. Today, this was Chalk the Walk, a partnership, of course, with United Way that I know member Marcette was there at Muldoon, but it occurred at many others. In fact, if you ever get by Denali, they had some great artists there. Denali Montessori had some really nice chalking at their school today. So lots of community there. We have some first day pictures. Staff, as was mentioned, was out and about. All directors and above from here went out, visited schools, and our main mission was to say, how can we help you? How can we make your first day? So folks ran schedules, directed kids. As you know, Dr. Stock held a sign. Welcome kids, whatever it is that was needed, and we're going to continue this throughout the week as well as move in to next week as well. One thing I do want to mention that will be difficult and has been difficult for some of our staff is as we went through budgeting last year, we really budgeted exactly for schools. And as you know, our enrollment projections at each school had some schools losing staff, some schools gaining staff. So staff, we kind of kept the same amount, essentially, amount of staff members, but they moved to different schools. And last year, we had schools, if they felt as though they could articulate and have evidence of, no, my kids are coming, these kids register late, this is coming from here, we think your numbers are wrong, they could sit down with administration and challenge that. And so a lot of our holdback teachers were dispersed last year, and we are down to, so we have dispersed 20 FTE at the secondary, middle, and high school levels at really a 0.5 here. They were everything from a nurse to a librarian. We took care of a couple FTE at purchasing. So FTE was really dispersed already. And now's the time that we don't have a guarantee of an enrollment to hire more. We believe that we will be in an enrollment. So what is necessary is adjusting staff. And this is the most difficult time to do it. In the spring, we made as many changes as we felt confident in so that our employees could go home, rest assured they're out of school. However, since returning in August, 12 elementary schools, which affected 24 schools, because essentially, or around there, 20 to 24, staff left a particular school and went where the students were. That is a good process to follow. Our teachers and other employees should work where the students are and where it's needed the most. However, it is such a difficult transition, and this is a change of practice because we don't have any more hold teachers. We disperse them, and so we're out quicker than we usually are. We had less than we usually are because we didn't want to not have people assigned to their schools. So just to update the board at this point in time, as we learn more, if we can afford additional staffing, we will do that. We will approve hiring and bring that back to the board. However, right now it's very uncomfortable, and I wanted to share with the board that if you may be hearing that, it's most uncomfortable for we adults who have settled in, set up a classroom, spent days, hours, weeks, months thinking about it. Kids generally adjust with new teachers. You've probably had kids had schedules changed at the beginning of the year. They adjust, they move with the flow. Generally, it is not easy on them, but for some reason kids just have a more open mindset, and they're not setting up the classrooms and doing all that, re-changing schedules, things like that our high school counselors will have to readjust schedules. So I just want to put that out there that we look to maybe struggle a little bit this year. We're going to do our best in great communication. As we assigned staff last year, principals knew that if you were asking for something, there's only a finite number of staff, so you need to know we will remove from another school. So our staff have been very honest. It has and forthright with additional staff that they have that they don't think they'll need, as well as what they can give. So I just want the board to be aware that this is a different process due to our financial constraints that really hasn't happened to this level as it has before. We're working with it, but I would just wanted you to be eyes wide open and aware. Great. And wow, there's light. So I'll do a report in the adjustments made at the schools if you'd like. I can publish that for you. And then finally, the bond debt veto update. We shared a little bit of this at the Finance Committee meeting, and I would just ask Jim Anderson to just review the talking points publicly so that our public knows where we stand. As you know, the veto did go through or did not make House Bill 2001, our legislators through the legislative session placed back in the bond debt reimbursement. And again, this bond debt is past bond debt 15, 20 years ago, for which voters went to voting booths and signed up and with a state share and local share. However, times have changed in the state. The fine print is if it isn't funded, it isn't awarded to a local municipality. Therefore, the past bond debt now needs to be charged to our taxpayers. It wasn't back then, and it will now. As you know, our present bond debt over the last 3 years has fallen at or below the amount of retired debt. So we really haven't affected tax hikes, if you will, in regard to bonding for school major maintenance projects. However, we've come to an impasse with that due to past bond debt. This is not present debt. These are for schools, again, 10, 15 years ago that were passed at the voting booth. So statewide, it was $48 million approximately, Anchorage's share of that. knowing that we have quite a few buildings, is 20 million. Of the state's districts, only 23 of them actually have the ability to tax locally, but not very many do tax locally. For instance, you might have a incorporated place, but there's really not that much ownership and assessed value, so they wouldn't bond. They wait on grants from the state. But of course, our city takes its share and puts towards schools. And so I'm going to have Jim just share some talking points with you, just so you know where we are and how we came to this situation. If you could just read through those points, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. So the first point I think everyone is aware of, for the last several decades, the state has historically paid the vast majority of voter-approved bond debt because the money required to maintain capital or to grow was never intended to be included in the foundation formula, so it was handled separately. Alaska Statute 14.11.100 articulates the requirements that resulted in either a 70-30 or a 60-40 state reimbursement split. A few years ago, the state passed Alaska Statute 14.11.014, and it directed a 5-year moratorium on state debt reimbursement for bonds passed between 1 January 2015 and it sunsets on 30 June 2020. So during that period, the last 3 bonds that Anchorage has passed have been 100% locally funded with no state debt reimbursement. ASD budgeted about $41 million in revenue to meet the state's portion of this year's bond debt. The governor's veto of 50% results in approximately a $20.5 million shift in responsibility from the state to the municipality, and naturally to property taxpayers. So ASD does have a fund balance in the debt service fund of approximately $3.94 million. These funds will likely be applied to the shortfall, as we discussed during the Finance Committee, resulting in we will request assistance from the municipality for the remaining $16.5 million. We've been working with the municipality since 13 February, when the governor first announced his intention to reduce or eliminate state debt reimbursement, so there should not be any surprises as we have our first meeting in the mayor's office this Thursday at noon. The city's leadership has stated on multiple occasions that property taxes would be increased. At this time, though, the governor did veto it. The legislature still has an opportunity to override the veto. If that doesn't occur, then naturally we'll work with the municipality to get the increased taxes during the next tax cycle.
Thank you. And also to share this week, I believe it was this week. No, last Friday, we presented to Commonwealth North. One of their studies is in regard to bond debt and policy towards the state. In the board newsletter, I'm putting the PowerPoint that we shared. It was just information on REAAs, or regional education attendance areas, how many are in the state, how many districts receive bond debt, and the idea and the understanding by the Commonwealth North that bond debt and capital money is directly tied to schools and operational money, because schools are a unit in our funding the BSA. So in the state formula, a school is a unit, and then it's the number of kids in that school. And so understanding the need that operational and capital money have a play in the state support for public education in Anchorage, in especially the largest incorporated area, was important for them to know. Over the last 11 years, the state has provided $683 million in capital grants to school districts around the state, of which Anchorage has received 3% of that. We house 38% of the students of the state. So just to give a mind's eye of those grant differences, we've shared information on the size of districts. We've shared information on the operational share. And we've shared this with our board that where Anchorage gets about 59.30 in the BSA. If you do the multipliers from the state, it's about $10,000. A district gets $59,000 from the state. So it's a lot smaller, a lot different geographic area, but the bond debt and support towards Anchorage was part of the state share overall. In our share of state funding. So we wanted to definitely share with Commonwealth North that this is a bigger issue than just capital, because it is tied to REA support as well as your operational support, that it isn't a single fix, so easy to do. We also shared with them the Ed Week and the equity imbalance that an outside agency found. Ed Week is a national magazine, research magazine as well, and that they found an inequity in Alaska based in the rural and urban areas. And it was the inequity that urban areas received significantly less. In the past, you could maybe say that that was made up in bond debt on the other side of the house, but as we move forward, perhaps not. So that was a report given. In the report is actually some items that the board has already seen. It's not new information to the board. It's just couched in a different argument to Commonwealth North. So with that, Madam President, that concludes my report, and the PowerPoint for which we presented to Commonwealth North will be in your Board Connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. And Ms. Hildy?
I move to approve the consent agenda, ASD memorandum number 15, personnel report, and August 6, 2019 work session and regular session minutes.
Second.
Board members, please vote. Passes with 7 yeas.
I move to approve ASD memorandum number 22 and adopt a resolution recognizing September 2019 as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders Awareness Month.
And before we move forward with that, Ms. Hildy, I need to read a statement very quickly. The statement, and this is on our public testimony on action items. The procedures for agenda item testimony are as follows. An action item memo is first introduced by the Vice President and then seconded by another board member. I will open the floor for public testimony, and if you have signed up in advance or indicated you are interested in providing testimony, I will call you to come to the front table to speak. You have 3 minutes to speak, and you will see a timer on the screen to your left to monitor the time remaining and inform you of when you need to conclude. After all testimony closes, I will open the floor for board discussion, followed by the student board representative vote before finally calling for the official vote. The voting results will be displayed on the screen to my right. And I'm sorry, Ms. Hildy, if you will.
I move to approve ASD memorandum number 22 and adopt a resolution recognizing September 2019 as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders Awareness Month.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on memorandum 2022? Is there any board discussion? Ms. Hildy?
Thank you. Just in an effort to be consistent, I will not be supporting the resolution, not because I am not passionate about reducing fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, but because I have shared that I don't want to support resolutions unless there's an effective element to it. I appreciate Assemblymember Weddleton's op-ed a few months back where he shared if it's not, I think the word he used, I can't remember, not substantive, but if it's not doing something. If we'd like to do something to support reducing this, and as the memo is written, it's a completely preventable disorder, and it's very clear instructions on how to do it, and I would love for our board to meaningfully do something, but so I don't want to make it a big deal. I just want to be consistent.
Ms. Mitchell?
And to follow up on that, I will vote for this because I think it is a great resolution, but it would be interesting to think about how we can support it by having education in our schools or, where it would go from here. So I would welcome further conversation about this as well, because it's a huge issue for our state.
And Mr. Holloman.
I'll just offer up that it is in the curriculum for healthy living, for our family consumer science classes, and any number of other places. You can't be an educator and not know about this, and when it relates to subject area, it gets brought into a lot of different places. So it is there. Unfortunately, it doesn't always affect people's decision making later in life, but across the district, there's a big effort there.
Thank you, Mr. Holloman. That was exactly what I was going to state. So, is there any other conversation? Hearing no conversation, student rep, please vote.
Yes.
Board members, please vote. And that motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 nay.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 20 and adopt the attached resolution calling on the Municipal Art Review Committee to incorporate a preference for Alaskan artists into their selection process.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on Memorandum 020? Hearing no public testimony, is there any board discussion? Ms. Hildy?
I think this is beyond the scope of what I think our board should be focusing on. If the public has an interest in this, they can approach the commission, and that public support could do this. I'm not entirely sure the efficacy of this, and I would encourage our board to continue to focus our work. And there's a lot of nice things to do, but if we try to do them all, we won't ever make progress on what we want to do.
Mr. Donnelly?
Thank you, Madam President. I brought this forward because I was surprised to learn that the school district and the school board had virtually no say into what art went into our schools in the 1% for Art program. And in reviewing the last batch of art that was approved that went into our schools, I noticed a pattern where there were quite a few out-of-state artists, and it was a pretty significant percentage of the total cost of the project was going to the cost of paying them to come up to Alaska and for their room and board while they're in Alaska to do the art in our schools. And I thought that wasn't the highest and most efficient utilization of public funds. And additionally, I thought it would be a really closely related, since we do have wonderful artists as students and our graduates that we see on a regular basis out here in our entryway in the forum out there. I mean, we see fabulous art by Alaskan students and by our district students, and if there was some way to get them more involved with the 1% art program, I think it would be a huge advantage in that they would actually be getting contracts and being paid while they're our students, and to help pay for school and benefit by encouraging them to be more active and be in this program, instead of it being well, I don't mean exclusively, because it isn't, but really would like to increase the local participation, especially as students of the Anchorage School District in this program, because it's a great program. But it would be even better if it was some of our students getting to participate with it. And finally, I noticed that the reports that were coming from the municipality to us lacked a lot of information that I would want as a policymaker to really understand the efficacy of their decision-making process. And one of those is the comparison of the proposals, the cost relationship between the proposals from Alaskan artists versus the non-Alaskan artists that got these contracts. And I think that is a perfectly appropriate thing for this board to be aware of, even though we don't have control over the process, and it would allow us to put some input in based on whether it's a rational expenditure of public funds.
So I'd like to speak, if you don't mind. I'm looking at Alaska Statute 35.27.020, Mr. Donnelly, and if I look further down in this, it actually states that the artist who executes these works of art in the public school shall be selected by the superintendent of a school district in which a public school is to be built with the approval of the school board. Should the department find in the best interest of the state that the selection of the artist who executes these works of art by the superintendent may result in a cost overrun to the state, delay construction, anyway that. But it also says that the architect, superintendent, department, and the Alaska State Council on Art shall encourage the use of state cultural resources in these artworks and the selection of Alaska resident artists for the commission of these artworks.
And Madam President, to add to that, our input in there is on the committee that does select it. We are a part of the committee that selects not only the artwork, but where it would go in the school, and we work with the architects. And I could have Tom Roth speak to that as it happens in the capital planning department with the principal of the school and the principal's inclusion of his or her input and, staffing or kids or however, we leave it at that local level, but we can share how that's happened if you'd like. So it isn't that we don't, I don't think the artwork, to Mr. Donnelly's point, is voted at this level, but through our school board and superintendent, we have a process that's localized at the school level to select that.
Yes.
Through the president to Mr. Donnelly, are you wanting more student involvement in this art? Is that, if I'm understanding correctly?
Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Donnelly.
Yes, that's one of the major elements of what I'm asking for, is that they try to reach out to and give better information to the school district of when these contracts are going out for bid, and try to integrate that with our art program, and try to give more opportunities for our kids and our graduates to bid on them and bring proposals forward.
Mr. Holloman.
I agree with Member Donnelly's intent, and I have to admit that in reading some of this, it may be ill-formed, or it may not be. It may be perfectly formed. In essence, we're making a statement of intent or position by the board, and I think that's worthwhile for the people that are making the decisions about the artwork that's going to be chosen. I think a push to say we would like for you to take a hard look locally. We'd like for you to take a hard look within our schools at students. Some of our students are going to go on to do rather fantastic things, and an art installation from them early in their artistic careers could turn out to be an incredible asset to our community, I think. So I also recognize that there are laws about fairness and purchasing and everything, and I'm sure those will be complied with, but within that, I would hope that people would understand we'd like to see this come from our state and from our community when it's the best choice.
Did you still want to speak? Okay. Dr. Bishop, I guess I have a question. Do we consider student artists if they submit, or are they encouraged to submit?
I would have to defer to Tom Roth. I believe if a student is a vendor, certainly, because we don't ask the age of our vendors, but I don't think that we go into art classes and say, can you do this? But students that are vendors and that are artists and that actually respond to the RFP, I think they're considered like everyone else in their artwork. There would be no information or reason why not to, but I believe the intent is to maybe go directly to students rather than just have students apply. But I'll turn it over to Mr. Roth.
Through the board president. So just to very briefly comment to Dr. Bishop's point, we do have participation. The school principal the project manager on a project are involved, and they probably, I can conjecture, do contribute to, some input on the final artist who is chosen for the project. What their criteria is, whether it involves Alaska artists or students, I don't know. And the last bit, we also do review from a safety perspective, a risk perspective. So in those three elements, that's how we contribute to this broader selection process.
Yes.
I would just like to say, I know that when Girdwood, my school, was rebuilt, we had a local Girdwood artist who did paint a painting inside our school, and it really, I think, adds to the school and to the sense of community that we have, seeing her art inside the school. And I think that it would be a great thing, as we want to keep more kids in Alaska doing cool things like art, and having the opportunity to have their art inside one of the schools that they could have gone to, I think would be a real sort of like inspiration and bring people together. So I think this is a good idea to reach out to students.
Ms. Bellamy?
So while I don't see anything that would exclude our students from applying or submitting a proposal, and I absolutely agree that there's a certain pride that comes with just anything Alaska grown, Anchorage grown, whatever. But I don't see in the municipality's processes, I don't see that is that students are excluded. How the municipality chooses to do it, I think they, I'll support this, because I do think that I do think that it's important that we stand up for opportunities for our kids. But I also know that it's the municipality's program, it's their process. It appears that we are part of that process. I know when I've been a part of any kind of renovation as a principal, we had a committee at the school that handled all of that. So nobody came in and told us that we had to do anything. But I do believe that the board should advocate for opportunities for our kids. This is one way we can do it, and respect the process, because it still respects the Muni's process that's in place. So this is a resolution calling for preference for, not just our students, but Alaska residents. And I do support anything Alaska homegrown. Thank you.
Any other board comments or discussion? Okay, student vote, please.
Yes.
Six yeas and one nay, that motion passes.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 12, transfers of funds for various instructional and support items in the amount of $2,846,304 as listed in this memorandum.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on Memorandum 012? Is there any board discussion? Hearing no board discussion, can we have student rep vote, please?
Yes.
Board members, please vote. And that memorandum passes with 7 yeas.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 11, budget transfers of up to $2,334,662 for the Special Education Department's Related Services Division to provide school psychology, speech, language, and physical and occupational therapy services for students with disabilities.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on Memorandum 011? Hearing none, any board discussion? On this topic with special education and moving funds into that realm, I'm kind of curious when I looked in this, the number of sped teachers that we are still short. And I think if it would be nice to know if the board agrees to maybe have a report on how we're feeling that in our classrooms. And that can be on another topic, but just curious because it was brought up in this budget transfer. No other conversations. School student rep, please.
Yes.
More board members, please vote. And that motion carries with 7 yeas.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 7 and authorize the superintendent to execute an amendment to the professional services agreement with MBA Consulting Engineers Incorporated in the amount of $369,316 to continue design development from 35% through project closeout and increase authority to execute future contract amendments to $600,000.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on Memorandum 003? Hearing none, is there any board discussion? No board discussion. Could we have our student rep vote, please?
Yes.
Board members, please vote. Oh, we missed. Sorry. Yeah, we did miss one. And just to be clear, that's Memorandum 007 that we just passed with 7 yeas.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 3 and authorize the superintendent to submit the projects listed in this memorandum in priority order to the State of Alaska Department of Education and Early Development deed by September 1st, 2019 for the fiscal year 2021 Capital Improvement Project Major Maintenance Capital Grant Program.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on Memorandum 003? Any board discussion? Hearing none, student vote rep, please.
Yes.
Board members, please vote. And Memorandum 003 passes with 7 yeas.
Madam President, may I ask for some clarity in the section?
Yes.
In reference to the transfer of funds in special education, since there was a question raised, for these particular positions of speech, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and the third one, we are meeting those needs by using contracted services. So that's how, so they, the memo actually had it move from special education teacher for speech language for occupational therapy to contracted services for those. So I'm not sure, but I believe maybe your question was in a broader sense of general education, school as well. But these for specific related services, this memo was specifically to get those IEPs and services covered through contracted services rather than our own employees. So that's how we're meeting these, but we can do further information on classrooms if you'd like.
Well, we'll bring that up under new business.
Okay, just was.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on to non-action items. Are there any non-action items that board members want to pull? Yes. Ms. Hildy.
Can you pull, oh, I don't have the number, sorry.
023?
023, the approval of the superintendent contract.
Okay, are there any others? So hearing none, we will open up 023 for discussion. Yes, Ms. Hildy.
So my understanding is that we just have it as non-action this time, and then next time we'll all vote to approve it. Will you do your summary this time or during the action when we vote on it? The board president presents a brief summary, or maybe it's just reading the memo.
Right. me pull it up real quick. And I think, I mean, I can actually read it now and then read it again when we vote on it. But I think it's more important to read it when we vote on it. We've all agreed to this. It's just public awareness. So, let me pull it up here. Am I looking at the... So it's the recommendation of the Anchorage School Board to approve an attachment A as the employment agreement between the Anchorage School Board and Dr. Dina Bishop for the period of July 1, 2019 through July 1, 2022. So basically, we have extended the superintendent's contract for another year. Well, yeah, proposed, yes. Did you want to add something, Ms. Hilding?
Well, the board bylaw or policy is that we provide a summary of the valuation. Do you do that as part of this?
I've never.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So I will do that at the
next
at the action item.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We are moving on to new business. Is there any new business? Yes, Mr. Donnelly.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd really like a better understanding of what alternatives are being provided for the public to be able to observe these meetings electronically. I'm very concerned that we're no longer on the municipal channel because of the decision to move to Tuesday nights. And there was a technical glitch, I guess, at our last meeting, so people could not observe it in normal streaming fashion. And so I would like a better understanding or a statement from the administration about what we're doing to try to maximize alternatives to make up for us losing our public accessibility from being on the municipal channel. And also, are there going to be Tuesday nights where we still can be on the municipal channel because there won't be an existing municipal conflict? Have we researched that and tried to figure that out?
The other thing I would ask too is I went back there to look at the archive of the last one, and it's all garbled and it's very hard to watch. It speaks over part of it. It's very difficult to watch. Pardon? Okay. Well, we'll look into that. But my understanding is Dr. Bishop will come back with a report on that, Mr. Donnelly, and we'll get more information. Yes, Ms. Margot?
I do see that YouTube is streaming live. So
Okay.
that part is working.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other new business?
Working last time.
Okay, I do. I want to remind board members that the 2019-2020 conference schedule is out there. We do have some individuals that have signed up for conferences. If there's something you'd like to go to, please take a look at that and let Katie know. The other thing is we are looking at doing another board leadership forum, and it's actually for individuals that are interested in serving on the board, and we'll be looking at just one night. And so we were asking school board members, we've picked a date of Tuesday, September 24th from 4:30 to 6:30. This is a time for those that are interested in serving on the board to meet with us and ask us questions. We will also have some individuals here from administration that can answer questions not only for those that are interested, but also for board members. We'll set up kind of a speed dating like we've done before. September 24th from 4:30 to 6:30 here at the Ed Center. And was there one more, Katie? Yeah. I missed it. Okay. And then just a reminder that we had asked for recommendations for board development and training. Miss Bellamy is the only one that's turned anything in. Thank you, Ms. Bellamy. So if you do have an interest in board training and development, we would like some feedback on that so we know what to schedule. And also, don't forget that we have the Open Meetings Act scheduled in September. Okay. Anything else? All right. School board and administration comments. Oh, sorry. We do have public testimony on any non-agenda or non-action items. Is there anyone that would like to testify? Okay. Moving on to school board and administration comments.
I just want to, Madam President and Board, say thanks again. It's been a wonderful start to a new year, and lots of excited faces out there. And my understanding from the board reports to present are on the media and channel, as well as general classroom teachers for special education. We will get that information at the next board meeting. And if there's any clarification, please email them to me or the board, actually the board president, and then she'll share them with me. Thank you.
And I just wanted to remind the board that, you know, when we talked in our retreat about what our focus was going to be this year, we're really trying to focus on academic type things and moving our students forward. And I know that some of the things that have come forward are important, but I'd like us to really focus on what we agreed to in June and bring things forward that will help our students in their academic achievement. Thank you. Session is adjourned.